The story begins with Cameron, who was watching the football finals between the Saviors and the Atlanta Manson alongside his parents. The Saviors trailed by just a single point, and the tension is at its peak. In the final moments, the Saviors managed to secure victory by that very 1 point. But amidst the celebration, tragedy strikes. Isaiah White, Cameron's idol, suffers a broken leg. Seeing Cameron's disappointment, his father reminds him that, in order to gain something in life, sacrifices must be made, and he encourages him to stay motivated. 14 years later, Isaiah White has become one of the most celebrated names in the world of football. He doesn't just win 1 or 2, but leads the Saviors to 8 championship titles. But now, his career is nearing its end. Could he possibly play 1 more season? At the same time, Cameron himself has risen as a promising star in football, finally beginning to bask in the limelight. One evening, Cameron is practicing alone on his hometown field. His former school coach briefly greets him and walks away. Cameron takes a couple of shots, and the ball rolls in circles before stopping. As he bends to pick it up, a man suddenly attacks him on the head. Later, doctors tell his mother that Cameron's career is in jeopardy. If he continues to play, the injury could prove fatal. Yet, Cameron refuses to give up. He joins a high-level team, even as his head injury becomes the talk of the media. Questions flood everywhere. Can Cameron still go on? Before a major press conference, Cameron's mother urges him once again to reconsider his decision. But Cameron insists he has worked his entire life for this moment and will not abandon it. At the press, his manager downplays the seriousness of his injury, calling it just a minor issue. Later, while Cameron wanders, lost in thought, down an alley, a mysterious tribal man approaches him, marking his own forehead with Cameron's signature. At a party soon after, Cameron finds himself unable to enjoy. His mind is consumed by the fear of his brain injury. In frustration, he lashes out, even at his friends. That's when Cameron receives a call, not from just anyone, but from his idol, Isaiah White himself. Isaiah invites him to a secret location for training. Though hesitant at first, Isaiah reminds him of his late father's words, persuading him to accept. Cameron arrives at a desolate area, where strange fans await him. Eventually, he's dropped off at an isolated house. Inside, he discovers Isaiah's trophies, awards, and unsettling photographs. Finally, in a room filled with odd hunting memorabilia, Isaiah greets him warmly. Cameron is startled by Isaiah's peculiar obsession with hunting. Isaiah explains the long-standing rivalry between Native Americans and whites. The former agile and cunning, the latter aggressive and ruthless. He claims this rivalry even shaped the evolution of football. But before training begins, Isaiah lays down strict rules. No phones, no distractions, no indulgences, only football. And so, Cameron's training commences. He practices long-range throws, sharpens his precision, and begins to build stamina. Isaiah introduces him to Marco, a physiotherapist, who conducts Cameron's full medical evaluation to determine if he's fit for upcoming matches. Soon, Cameron also meets Elise, Isaiah's sister, a poised businesswoman, who greets him warmly. Seeking recovery, Cameron steps into an ice bath, only to notice Isaiah undergoing a blood transfusion nearby. The sight unsettles him, but Marco, too, injects Cameron with something that leaves his mind clouded. The next day, training intensifies. Endurance drills push him to the edge until he collapses, gasping desperately for air. At that moment, a figure in a red dress, armed with a weapon, lunges at him, only for Cameron to realize it's nothing but a hallucination. Isaiah grants him 1 week to improve his stamina. Meanwhile, Marco continues injecting him with mysterious substances. Soon after, Cameron faces a new challenge. He must catch and pass the ball within 2 seconds, or else his teammate will take a brutal hit straight to the face. The psychological weight bears down on him. He falters. His teammates bleed, and panic grows. Isaiah warns him, "Focus, or people will die." Forced under pressure, Cameron finally succeeds. Yet, Isaiah's behavior grows increasingly bizarre, raising suspicions in Cameron's mind. When Cameron's stitches begin to reopen, Isaiah escalates the regimen by placing him inside a high-pressure chamber. At over 50 psi, Cameron's brain begins to play tricks on him, showing terrifying illusions. Soon, it's time for leadership drills.
Isaiah's men rough him up with brutal tackles, testing his will. Cameron struggles, but Isaiah urges him to remember his father, to summon his guts. With his wounds tearing further, Cameron finally retaliates, smashing his head violently into an opponent and leaving him grievously injured. Impressed, Isaiah's faith in Cameron grows. That night, Cameron stumbles, haunted by shadows and hallucinations of paparazzi choking him. Disturbed, he calls his mother to wish her a happy birthday. But Marco storms in, startling him into hanging up. Marco insists he'd give his life for athletes like Cameron, urging him to continue training. Later in the sauna, Isaiah reminisces about his playing days, the locker rooms, the roaring fans. He warns Cameron not to climb the steps of greatness blindly, not to become like him. Left alone, Cameron is suddenly attacked by a woman wielding a stone. He defends himself, choking her to death, only for Isaiah to intervene, seemingly saving him. Confused by Isaiah's erratic behavior, Cameron confides in Elise, who dismisses his concerns, claiming Isaiah just appears strange to others. Elise then invites Cameron to a lavish night of partying with her entourage, where they indulge in revelry until dawn. The next morning, Isaiah storms into Cameron's room with a gun, demanding to know if he slept with Elise. Cameron denies it, reminding Isaiah of his high school girlfriend. Isaiah coldly advises him not to care about anyone's feelings. Training complete, Cameron faces his big interview. Midway, he breaks down, confessing his guilt over disappointing his late father by almost quitting football. Tearfully, he vows to keep playing for his father's memory. Elise later prepares him for a grand party, where high-ranking Saviors officials and team owners await. At the event, they ask if he is ready for the next step. Cameron agrees, drinking wine and slipping into intoxication. Meanwhile, Elise betrays Marco, sacrificing him as part of a dark ritual. The next scene finds Cameron lying in a weakened state on a bed. An injection appears before him, and once it enters his body, unsettling changes ripple through him. Gathering his strength, Cameron storms toward Isaiah, determined to kill him. There, he discovers old jerseys of fallen quarterbacks and realizes the horrifying truth. Isaiah has been sustaining his career by transfusing the blood of past greats, inheriting their skills for himself. Isaiah challenges Cameron. Whoever wins will step through the tunnel and onto the field. The fight begins. Cameron lands heavy blows, but Isaiah brutally snaps his arm. Despite the agony, Cameron snarls, declaring, "The opposite of savior is destroyer." He bashes Isaiah with a helmet until he lies dead. Cameron walks through a door into a chamber, where Elise stands with Savior's executives holding a contract. Shocked, he learns the officials are part of a cult. Anyone who survives the challenge earns a place among them. They urge him to sign. But Cameron pieces it all together. His entire life, from his mother to Isaiah, had been orchestrated for this. His father had been killed for the very same plan. Furious, Cameron refuses. Instead, he unleashes his rage. One by one, he slaughters the guards, drives a knife into Elise's neck, rips apart the officials, and finally decapitates the CEO of the Saviors. As he walks away, he echoes his father's words, "No guts, no glory."